are the strings that have all the bytes have probability 1/2 and 1/2 to be 0 and 1s, and to describe one random string. Okay? Because here what you want in this measure is not describe a set of things. You want to describe the precise sequence. Okay? And the precise sequence, if you take a random strings, okay, since it's random, you cannot find any correlation in any way. Okay? You really have to know every bit by bit. You cannot guess everything. So that's why it's complex. Okay? So you really have to enter this way of thinking in the way that you really want to describe the complexity of one single string. Okay? So this might appear completely stupid. You know, you just have to hardwire the string and we forget about it. It's just complexity 0. Okay? And that's basically what you could imagine. Okay? But that's why you use a universal Turing machine. Okay? If you use a universal Turing machine, it has to work for everybody. Okay? So you cannot do a program specially designed for one specific string. Okay? So, and it turns out that it's independent of a Turing machine. So what do I mean by that? Is that basically, since if you take another Turing machine, universal Turing machine, okay, you can show that the two complexity are related. How do I do that? Simply by so imagine that I have a universal Turing machine U1 and a universal Turing machine U2, and I want to compare the complexity of a word for this one and for this one. Okay? So for this one, I have a program P1, okay, that will output the string W, okay, and for this one there is a program P2 that will output the string W as well. Okay, so what I want to show is that the size of P1 and P2 cannot differ too much. Okay, so how do I do that? It's very simple. It's just that since U1 is universal, we can emulate U2. Okay? So what do? Is I replace P2 by a program which just does the following. It's a pre-prime 2, but it's just the code of U2 executing P2 in the language of U1. Okay? I force U1 to execute P2 and U2. And this only adds a constant to the size, to the length of the program of P2. And the constant is simply the length of the code of U2 in the language of U1. Okay? So what you see here is that P'2, which is larger than P1, okay? So the length of P'2 is larger than the length of P1, okay? And this is less than the length of P2 plus some constant, which is the size of the code of U2. Okay? And I have exactly the converse for the same reason. And so what do I get is that the two complexity differs by almost a constant. Okay? So what we see here is that we need to consider all the words, because else the constant, you know, maybe the complexity of the string. Okay? So this is something. At the same time, we are defining the complexity of one word. Okay? But we want to be able to define the complexity of one word for all the words. Okay? And this is not easy. Because if you want to design to have the complexity of one word, it can be 0, because you can imagine that this word is hardwired in the universal Turing machine. But since it has to work for everyone, okay, then you have this argument that tells you that the complexity of everyone cannot differ by much from one model to another. That means that you can optimize your compiler to your compressor for one string, but it won't work for anybody. It won't work better for everybody. Do you get what I'm saying? Okay. So basically, so now, do you now agree that this is kind of intuitive, or do you reject it, or the fact that random strings have high complexity? That's basically, if you look at a compressed file, you know, if you look at gzip or whatever, a zipped file, then you will discover that it's pretty much random. Okay? It looks really like random. Okay, so that's exactly what's going on. You know, but when you've extracted all the information within something, you get something which looks random. That's the basic idea. Okay? So, the nice thing with that is that since here we have strings, we know that the strings with the highest complexity have the same, exact same statistical properties as random strings. So you can make it a theorem. I'm not able to do it now, but you can make it. Okay? That's the Martin-Löf theory. Then there is something nice that you get from this complexity theorem is that you get a deterministic definition of random strings. Okay? That means that this guy Kolmogorov is one of the founders of probability theory, by the way. So you get some kind of deterministic definition of random stuff. Okay? That means that, you know, in order to describe a random string, usually what you do is that you describe how to construct it. Okay? You say there is a probability 1/2, 1/2 to get 1 bit. Okay? But you're not able to tell whether this string is random or not. Okay? This theory is able to tell you that this string is random. It's a random string. Okay? So, well, he is able to tell it more or less clearly because it is undecidable to compute it. Okay? So, as usual, in computer science, now you get used to it. It means that this is some kind of nice measure once we have understood what really the complexity of one string mean. And but of course it's unusable. I mean, it's a very nice theoretically. I mean, you can tell a lot of things. You can understand a lot of things, how random space are structured and everything through this tool. But unfortunately, when you want to operate, to use it for real, it turns out that it's undecidable to compute the value of the complexity of a string. Okay, you cannot decide whether the k complexity of a word is larger or less than k. So that's a huge issue. That's a huge issue, and that's why this Kolmogorov complexity is not that good for complex systems. Okay, especially there are another issue is that we would like to say that this is complex, bondable fractal. Okay, it looks complex. It's hard, and there are a lot of stuff going on. Even the connexity is not trivial, and it was for a long time suspected to be not connex before being proven, and so it's a real mess. But do you remember the size of the program that generated? It's something like 2 lines long. Okay, it's not complex. It's trivial. Okay, from the Kolmogorov complexity. So that's a huge issue. And there is another one. It's that, you know, in Kolmogorov complexity, you know that the random strings are the one with the top complexity. But, you know, remember what Poincaré said in the chaos theory, is that randomized natures in chaotic systems, which are just very small, stupid, deterministic, dynamical systems. Okay, billiards is a completely stupid thing. You have a ball bouncing on the walls, and it gives you some chaotic features that looks pretty random. Okay, so there is a huge problem with this thing. So I don't want to enter why this is interesting. This complexity theory, complexity definition would be interesting, but it turns out that for operating result, it doesn't work. It doesn't work for this result. Okay, so what's the conclusion is that, you know, I think that it tells you something anyway, is that things are much more complex than we think. It's much more, but even uglier. They are really, really ugly. I mean, but as soon as you consider something which is going, it's more than 4 states, 5 states, and everything can happen. It's you get something which is really nasty. A nice example of problems that with Kolmogorov complexity also that I did not put here is that you have this. You can write very, very, very huge numbers with very, very small programs. So, for instance, there is some kind of nice competition, but it's the Buzzy Beaver problem. Buzzy Beaver problem, and the problem is the following: it's that you fix a